Calling the meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. and we are now recording our meetings, and so we will take a roll call for attendance. Ravian Bejios, did I get it close? Okay. Alan. Okay. Judy Williams is excused absent. Terry Barris is excused absent. Mike Karalevich.
Present.
Judy Miller.
Here.
Annie is excused absent, and Kristen Wilhelm.
Here.
Excellent. The revision or correction, but it's not an actual item thing, under Finance Committee, Alan will be giving the report, not Terry, so it's just a name change. There's no public present, therefore no comment, and was there any correspondence or donations of significance, Jennifer?
No.
Okay, so we are already on agenda item 4, approving the minutes from the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees from July 26th. I had two things I wanted to mention under adjournment. At the very end, it says RB seconded. I'm sure that was Ravian, so it should be RB. The wrong initials were listed there. And then a question which I did not have time to research. Under the report of the buildings and grounds, is it the water heaters that are old or the boilers for the heating system?
Water heater.
The actual water heaters for the hot water, okay.
Yes.
I somehow had boilers in my head, but okay. Then so is there anything else on our minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes with the correction.
Second.
That was Mike and Alan. Do we need to call out names for them, or does it matter? Or is it if it's in the minutes?
I think you ought to call it out.
Sure.
Okay.
Because they're recording it.
Yep.
Okay. Mike motioned, Alan seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody? All in favor of accepting the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Alan, take it away with the Finance Committee.
Okay, period ending 7/31/21, that is 58.08% up. That is 58.08% up.
Do we want to approve the vouchers first?
Fine.
Well, it's first on the agenda. Sorry.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look at that now? Okay, Fund 15. As I went through 15, as I went through here, I only found one thing that caught my eye. Sarah Bean was actually a Michaels receipt. So I don't know where Sarah Bean came from, but
She's our shelper who works at Michael's, and she purchased some programming supplies for Carrie.
Oh, so she brought the receipt
So
in
she
and
brought the
we
receipt
reimbursed
in
her.
and we reimbursed her.
Okay. Other than that, everything checked out nicely. So I'd be looking for a motion to accept 18 for Fund 15 to be paid.
Can you just repeat the number again?
$18,819.74.
Thank you.
I'll move. Maria? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Fund 16.
Fund 16, as I went through those, everything kind of fell in line. Also, nothing was out of line. I'll just let you know, because I asked the question, the Swank movie licensing was 2,000 movies in here, and it's $900 a year. But if we do 3 years at once, it's $2,000. So we did the 3 years, and that made a whole lot of sense to me.
Okay.
Other than that, everything was in line with the invoices. So I'd be looking for a motion to accept. So I'd be looking for a motion to accept and pay the invoices for $4,494.10.
One more time?
$4,494.10.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And 10 cents.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will move.
A second.
That's Maria and Mike. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, that motion carries for, sure.
When someone asks for the motion, is it proper for them to second, for example? You
The
said.
same person?
No, yeah, you made the motion, and I would second it in a heartbeat, because I looked at everything and I know it's good, but is it inappropriate for me to do it? No? Okay.
I've often wondered that same thing.
Okay, the meeting will start moving along. Okay, Fund 15. As I was saying, the period ending 7/31/21 is at 58.08% of the year. A few things that I saw that had seemed to be different than what I would have expected. 5257 software maintenance, and when talking to Jennifer about this, she kind of reminded me that I think we've gone through this before. It is over budget. The budget is 200, we're at actually 1,021, but some of these are annual. The budget is 200, we're at actually 1,021, but some of these are annual maintenance things.
But that's
And
still,
we're done.
still a low budget number if it's
Yes.
not anything
Yeah.
new that we're doing, right?
Was this an item that we discussed at last meeting that you
Yes.
changed already for next budget year?
If we decide to pay for the cloud library
Yes,
next year, it has
yes.
been budgeted out of that.
Okay,
Yeah. Every year we kind of look at
go
it.
back and forth, right?
Well, I brought it up again because, although we discussed it last month, and I forgot about that, we still had $199 in there this month again, which was brought it up. 5393 ebooks, we use 96.66% of the budget. That is another yearly item, so we are done with that one. 5557 building maintenance systems and 5559 building maintenance other are per budget, but we had the doors fixed, and when you're talking about building maintenance, you don't know what's going to break when you're putting together a budget. So total expenditures were still 57.84%, which is below the 58.08, so we're still doing well.
I had a question on,
Yep.
you got an item, salaries temp. Who falls under that category?
Is that the intern?
Interns,
But we budgeted for interns,
yeah.
so why would the budget amount be zero?
Well, we budgeted for them in part, that's Tom
Oh,
Bakalarski.
okay, so it's the way that they account for it?
It's the way
Shame
they
on them,
account
we
for
gotta
it, but it
account
is-
for it.
'Cause
That's
I
why we
don't-
do
We
this.
try.
Yeah, I don't do anything with the personnel budget, that's all, those numbers are all input for me.
Yeah.
By Tom, so,
Right.
Well, especially since it's something that we have been doing.
Right.
Well, especially since it's something that we have been doing for a number of years, and I would anticipate that because it's worked to our advantage, that, you know, that we would continue to do it, so.
Why don't you mention that to him, just to say that to him, just to say this is something that will most likely be regular most years,
can we not put in 10?
right?
And if he
I
has.
guess if they don't care though, what does it really matter? But
They care about that last, they care about the total.
Right.
361, 669. They care about the total.
Right.
361, 669, you know, that,
then Mike won't have to keep asking every year about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But go ahead if you want.
But from a budgeting standpoint, it's nice to have that broken out to know,
Exactly.
yeah, it's only a small amount, but look at all of the benefit that we get with having that extra body. Only a small amount, but look at all of the benefit that we get with having that extra body around with programming and other
Right.
stuff over the summer, and possibly new hires, who knows? Plus, we're helping the library profession by doing that.
Alan, can I clarify something?
Sure.
When we first started, we talked about that 115 is at 58.08% for the year, is what you said?
No, we're at 58.08% of the calendar.
Oh,
So anytime our expenditures or our revenues are not right on 5808, we're a little higher. Okay, Fund 16, our revenue is 71.59%. Yeah, we're doing real well, and again, just like last month when we talked about it, donations are helping us.
Mhm.
11 with $45. Of course, I'm on the wrong page, no wonder I can't find it. $45 in interest income, all that arrived in July, and it's a small amount. And I talked to Jennifer, and she wasn't sure what it was, and I said, well, it's a small amount, but where was it the other 6 months? I mean, if we're generating this kind of revenue, is it in 15? And I just don't know, it's something that just kind of sticks out. And then the other thing, $1,991 this month, year-to-date $1,911. In discussing this with Jennifer, this is the money that we got as a refund that Carrie was spending.
Laura Gravender,
When we look at account, I'm on
5312.
5312, which is at 114.49% of the budget already, that's office supplies. That's because 1,991 of that is in that account, and they moved the refund into a different account. Best way to do it, next year when we're budgeting, we're gonna look like we have a large amount of supplies that we spent this year,
Right.
which is a one-time issue that should be taken out of normal operations. Okay, our expenditures were a total of 50.42%, again, well below the 58.08. Office supplies, the 5312 we discussed. Software maintenance is at 99.99%, and that one is done for the year too. So and that one is done for the year too. So I think we're good.
Thank you for that detailed report.
You're welcome.
Were there any other questions before you move on about those two funds and the line items? Okay? Those two funds and the line items. Okay?
Okay. The next report that we have is a summary of the revenues in Fund 16, which doesn't tie out exactly, and we already know that some things will be posted from one month. Doesn't tie out exactly, and we already know that some things will be posted from one month to the next because it came in at the end of the month and or the last month or end of this month and it posted in the next month. Or sales tax. We were off from our general ledger to this report by $24.65, and I passed on giving any additional effort into it because as we've dug into it in the past, it ties out. And then the next report is credit card activity. This was credit card activity with $586. So again, it looks like everything is actually below where it normally is. Jennifer says she'll fix that next month.
Yeah. Well, you can always tell when we're recovering from summer reading because we're not really doing more.
So that would end my report.
All right. Thank you, Alan. Any other questions for him?
I'm just gonna verify numbers one more time.
Sure.
You said expenditures were at 52.42%, is that correct?
Which fund? 16?
16. Okay, and then you were telling me the number again of 4,494.
It's on the sheet right there next to you.
Oh, never mind. I have it. I'm good. I got it now.
Okay. No problem.
I just look at this.
Well, I do want to thank, called her at the last minute today because Annie told me at the last minute that she wasn't going to be here, so I really do appreciate it. So any clarification
Thank you.
you need, don't hesitate. Fabian?
Just in the future, like, typically if the secretary can't be here, then there's appointment in the room, and there's appointment in the room by the chairperson. You know,
Oh, by me, I just assign somebody to do it?
in the room on the record.
Oh, like instead of trying to line up somebody ahead of time?
Right, because you're doing something that the public wouldn't know about. So everything's supposed to, something that the public wouldn't know about. So everything's supposed to go there.
So instead of being proactive
Yeah.
and trying to
But
have
sneaky.
things
I appreciate her.
organized ahead of time, I was supposed
Yeah.
to spring it on her here tonight.
She can still be notified ahead of time because it's not a quorum issue.
Oh.
A quorum issue.
Oh,
But then you
okay.
officially do it on the record.
Yeah,
I-
you asked for volunteer and Rebbe and said, oh, let me do
Yeah.
that.
Everybody wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather you let me know ahead of time. I would
Right.
like that.
And I think in the back of my head, I kind of, had meant to say something, but there were, so.
It's fine.
But thank you, I will do that next.
You can just say I'm appointing her to.
Okay.
All right,
Okay,
thanks.
great. All right, the first item of business, agenda item 6A is discussion and possible action regarding committee assignments. And we are people tonight, so I'm not sure if it's appropriate that we
We didn't
do
do it last
that.
meeting for that same reason.
Exactly, so I'm hoping that next month, is anybody, I'm leaning towards tabling it. Unless there's we need to do it, signaling it. Unless there's we need to do it 60 days from July 1st. That was only the board positions, not the committee assignments. Okay, so it's stated in the minutes from last month, Ravian, and you can write the same thing in. Last month, Ravian, and you can write the same thing in, that, let me tell you the wording. Discussion tabled, current committee assignments will continue until new assignments. You see that?
Just gonna
Do you
copy
want
it.
to say that unanimous consent from the board that
Do we?
it was tabled, or do you want to make a vote to table?
Well, I never remember us voting on tabling something,
Well, I'm gonna table it. so.
right? So we need a motion to,
Or you can do at unanimous consent.
Oh.
But the typical, it's probably best to just vote. So I'll move to table
Oh, okay.
business discussion 6A. The
Second.
discussion possible regarding committee assignments.
okay, and Alan, do we have unanimous, approval, all in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? All right, motion carries, the discussion is tabled. Thank you for clarifying that. I don't remember doing that. Policy review, Jennifer pulled out. We'll look at the meeting room policy, and that's on pages 11 to 14 of our packets. And she made a couple changes, or at least one. On page 12, failure, at the very top of the,
I have no questions for you.
are you over there by Julie's foot? Or behind you, if it's long enough. On the wall. So on page 12 of our board packet, you added that line, failure to do this will result in the loss of meeting room privileges.
Yeah, we have some groups that, we tell them that they need to end their meetings 50 minutes prior to the library closing, and that allows them to have time to, minutes prior to the library closing, and that allows them to have time to,
Exactly.
clean things up, talk to whoever they need to talk to, and exit the building.
Right.
So we have a number, and happens a lot with the condo groups that have a lot of issues. That, and we would just like to have the option of saying, you know, this is your second or third warning. But
Right.
you can't use the meeting, you know,
Yeah.
say you can't use the meeting room one time, and then we just want some options.
Right, right.
What is the purpose of not allowing the meeting to begin until, I mean, if they come in when the library opens, they walk into the room, it's all set up, you know, the 10 people who are gonna be at the meeting are all there, and then they have to sit for 10 or 12 minutes until it's 15 minutes after the library opens?
I don't know that we really enforce that. We just generally don't schedule them. We really enforce that. We just generally don't schedule them
Okay.
until 10:15.
Okay.
If we
Maybe it
schedule.
should be, no meeting shall be scheduled.
Yep,
Okay, so there's an amendment made on page 12, is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay. Do I need to say what level? Is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay. Do I need to say what line and all that, or just page 12?
Well, you can just,
Summarize what it
have
is.
someone accept the changes as discussed, you know.
Right, that's
Okay.
typically how we would move on it. You don't have to outline them in the minutes. or
Okay, got it.
Summarize them, yeah.
Especially since we're being recorded, somebody.
So what was your recommendation for wording of that from
No
Jennifer?
meeting shall be scheduled in less than 15 minutes.
Or with meetings, instead of to begin, schedule no less than 15 minutes after the library opening.
Yes.
Right, that's what, yeah.
okay,
You
so.
see that, so
operating-
change begin to meetings scheduled. Is that correct?
With meetings to begin no less than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm just adding the word schedule.
Right.
Okay,
I had a question back on page 11, and this has probably been in there the whole time. Right below those numbered items,
Which one?
page 11. You
Yeah,
have
there's-
a numbered item. Meetings and events must be free and open to any member of the public. Why does the meeting have to be open to any member of the public?
that's a very good question, because when we have Eagle Scout, say we have an Eagle Scout meeting, it's not like anybody else is going to attend it.
But do they have to be able to?
I don't see why.
We could strike that.
Was there a reason why it was there to begin with?
Well, if it was a city meeting, I would say that would be true.
Right.
Say that would be true.
Right.
That's why then.
I'm looking at the organization of this policy. So the first part says, numbers 1 to 4 at the top of the page are the order of priority who gets to the page, are the order of priority who gets to use the rooms. And all of those organizations, city, county, state, well, number 3.
Community.
I'm trying to think if they would open meeting.
Well, I can
You know.
get to that. 1, yes. 2, yes.
Possibly, yes, yeah.
3, not necessarily.
Right.
And 4, it says somewhere in here that you don't allow religious services. So I'm not sure how 4.
Well, a group whose purpose, if the group's purpose is religious, so let's say St. Martin of Tours Church, their Girl Scouts want to meet here.
But down below, we restrict religious services.
But it's not a service, it's a Girl Scout troop from St. Martin's.
Right.
So,
But that's not the same as a religious group. I mean, Girl Scouts aren't necessarily a religious group just because
No, but
they
the-
are from that organization.
You could have a church council meet here.
right.
That's not a church service.
Exactly.
But if they're coming in distributing communion and
Right.
and praising, a church service.
Exactly.
But if they're coming in distributing communion and
Right.
and praising and singing.
Right.
Yeah, that's all.
you know, because we've had a number of church book discussion groups that will meet here and.
Right. So then I guess the question is, must any group that meets here be free and open to the public?
I
And,
would say that's not correct as far as I know.
yeah,
But
especially
it
if
is-
there's somebody
But it is a
paying.
public,
Yeah,
but
especially
it
if there's
is, but
somebody
it is a
paying.
public building, but you have homeowner associations that meet over in City Hall, and I'm not aware that those have to be open to
Right,
everyone.
right,
So maybe it should say everyone.
right.
So maybe it should say all governmental meetings and events must be free and open to members of the public.
I think
Because it
each,
says this is not applied to the use of the rooms by governmental units.
That means those meetings can be closed. If Terry were here, he might know, because there may be something, or Judy, in statute about public spaces being accessible. I don't know.
I just go
Well, the
back to.
public space is still accessible, it's just the meeting itself would not be. Again, I mean, who's gonna come to a condo board meeting?
What kind of cookies do they have?
oh, yeah.
I take that back, I do know.
I mean,
Is there value in adding any wording in there that says that are all governmental units, even governmental units, I mean, you could be having something particular from a governmental unit that isn't necessarily open to the public.
And I'm not, unless it's a closed session, go into closed session, it
It has to be open.
Okay, well then, how about if we just make a statement to that point?
Well, or each group reserving the room has to have an open meeting policy listed. If they have to have have to allow.
I would say yes, they would, because if the city hall is holding their council meeting here, they have to have the building open to the public. They don't have a choice.
Right.
So maybe it's, second sentence.
I
Meetings,
agree.
events must be free and open to any member of the public. This does not apply to rooms by governmental units. It's actually opposite.
Mhm.
Right.
So if meetings and events must be free and all governmental meetings must be free and open to the public, and then rooms by governmental units. Is that,
That clears it up for me.
yeah.
So, started out by saying all governmental meetings
Mhm.
must be free,
And events must be free and,
must be free.
and events must be free and open to any member of the public, and then just scratch the second line.
I guess I'm just not super comfortable with that as a library policy. Do we need to be the ones having that in our policy? Do we need to be the ones having that in our policy? Or
Well, that's,
do,
yeah,
does,
Because it's-
she's the director of the library, and so she's the one, and we're the
it has to
ones,
say, we can't have like some secret committee meeting here because we
we're the
don't
ones that,
allow.
based on this policy, are
Okay,
defining.
secret committee meeting here because
We're
we
the
don't
ones that,
allow.
based on this policy, are
Okay.
defining, the order of who gets the room and,
All right.
and how they behave
So if
there.
your governmental unit wants to rent the space here, it has to be free and open to the public.
Hmm?
Right, okay. Right, okay.
And then scratch out, this does not apply to use of the rooms by governmental units.
Right. Unless you plan on charging governmental units, because then it would be free. Have you ever charged a government?
We have not,
Okay.
and if that happened, we would have to change this whole policy.
Right. Right. So Mike, does that answer, did that clear up your?
It certainly
Was that-
does.
Okay.
So I'm just reading online. Must be free and open to the general public at all times. It says meeting rooms are intended for larger groups than study rooms and therefore have additional usage requirements. Meeting rooms may be used at no charge for eligible groups and/or individuals for educational, cultural, information, or governmental discussions, workshops, and other functions. Bold. Meetings must be free and open to the general public at all times.
Well, and just based on everything that you
Right.
read, all of those meetings are informational, educational,
Right,
all those types of things. Yeah, you want them free and open to the public.
right, okay.
Condo associations or anybody else where
Have we had any problems with meeting crashers?
We, sort of, mostly for the food, and that's why I was,
Landlord board and open.
it has not been a problem, but yeah, there have been people who've attended meetings for snacks.
One thing in that, if you say all governmental meetings and events must be free and open to anyone under the public, you might want to have a clarifying sentence that says, that governmental bodies do have the ability to go into
Closed
closed session.
session,
Do have the ability to go into
closed
closed session.
session. Right,
They have to start with it, yeah.
They have, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Then go into closed session.
But if you don't put it in there and somebody comes in and says, your policy says this, and you don't say anything about the closed session, it's like, well, that's their policy. Now you-
right, yeah,
Good
And
point.
I think where the issue comes in is that it's just a general statement, meetings and events, as opposed to all the things that Judy read, which are civic engagement and those types of things for the benefit of the community.
Right.
Yeah, you want to have those free and open to the public.
right.
So what would that sentence be? All governmental units do have the ability to enter into closed session?
Yes,
When-
per what you would say, per,
Wisconsin
whatever,
statute,
yeah.
whatever that one
And
is.
if you could, get that statute.
Okay.
And if you look up any of the council meetings that had a closed session, there was the one
Right.
at the last meeting you can pull.
Right, I can just, yeah. Okay. On page 12 also, that was just fixing a problem from when we approved. That was just fixing a problem from when we approved the policy the first time. There was some inconsistency in the language, so.
Right up at the
And
top.
actually, at the bottom, we're 4 or more hours in a day. We had up to 4. It should
Oh.
have been 4 or more hours in a day. So that's just,
Right.
hours in a day. So that's just,
Right, yes, I saw that one too. I don't mind any print and color, so. Okay, any other questions on page 12? With the fees, and did you do a survey of other libraries, and are we in line, are we under?
well, he's
Other
he's the one
Okay.
that caused us to redo this.
Right, oh,
But he
okay.
still gives us donations.
Right, right.
I appreciate him.
Yeah. When was the
I have
last
not
time
done
those rates
before
changed?
COVID.
Yeah, okay.
So I would suspect they haven't changed a lot.
Okay,
Another survey.
yeah. Do people ever complain about the rates? Not really.
I mean, maybe paying, but not necessarily the rates.
Gotcha, okay. All right, page 13 was pretty straightforward. Page 13 was pretty straightforward, continuation of the fees.
I have
and
a
the-
question on the little thing before you do that. Jennifer, do you recognize that some groups may have a Milwaukee address but still be in Franklin?
Yeah,
Okay.
because we know that there's that,
One?
yeah.
Okay.
Because we know that there's that area up there in the the northeast side.
Mhm.
Right,
Yeah.
All right, that's it.
I had a question about the final page, page 14, and this is just, you know, so, so if people overstay their hours, they're not allowed to book again, or they have to, and then if things are damaged, charges may be assessed, which is obvious. If they break a table, they have to replace it. But for those instances too, or do you kind of treat them as case by case? And I don't even know if you have an issue with that often, or if you, I know. I'm thinking red Kool-Aid on the carpet.
Yeah, and we
You
have
know what I
that.
mean?
I mean, that happens in library programs. I mean, we could add a statement that,
It doesn't matter to me. I just didn't know if you, to be consistent or to,
Are you saying that if
they come in here and damage it, that they, outside of an accident, you know, or, you know, but I'm not,
you could
That's up to
say
you.
charges may be assessed or privilege may be revoked, or revoked.
and or, I could do
Revoked.
and or.
Yeah,
something.
yeah, maybe revoked.
Something.
Revoked.
Yeah. That's the whole point of it. We don't want to provoke.
Have you ever had any problems with people trying to bring alcohol in?
No.
Okay. I didn't know if it should be in here as, you know, should not bring alcohol in.
There,
Should not bring alcohol in.
there,
Because they could always say, didn't know that.
Right, or it says you can use our kitchen, and the kitchen is, the food and beverages may be consumed.
There is a place in here about water, so, there is a place in here about water, so,
Yeah.
maybe in that food and food beverages may be
In
consumed.
Cedar. Yeah.
With the exception of alcohol.
What if a group has a, I guess, license to serve, not the group that comes in to use? What if
I mean, I
like,
don't know, I think it would,
See, if they're coming in and they're renting a space.
it would be the building that would have to have that
I don't,
license?
I mean,
no, it's,
they could have it in the parking.
Know the ins and outs of the
well, the
serving.
organization themselves, I know in licensing, it doesn't matter where they hold it, if they are serving,
Oh.
they have to have a licensed bartender serving.
Okay.
So they would have to have.
So they could come here with a licensed bartender and serve, unless we have it in our policy.
Yeah, I would think that would be correct.
Okay,
Isn't there something about no alcohol in public buildings? I mean, like City Hall or any public building.
well, I've been able to do it here by applying for the license we've been able to serve here.
Oh, okay.
For the license we've been able to serve here.
Oh, okay.
sure. You do some of the fundraisers.
The fundraisers
Yeah.
that we've had. I think maybe under food service and consumption, we should add, I know it was in the old policy, I don't know how it got missed.
Food and beverages may be consumed without, with the exception of alcohol. Food and beverages may be consumed without, with the exception of alcohol unless, unless, because you say you do have it occasionally.
Yeah, only for library.
For library programs.
The foundation.
I just didn't want someone to say, your own policy says that didn't want someone to say, your own policy says that you're not, following your own policy.
Yeah.
So you should say it unless approved by the library board or approved by, you're gonna have some kind of section for yourself if you're gonna do it. You're gonna have some kind of section for yourself if you're gonna do it. So you
Well,
can
if it's a
say-
library event, it's not an outside group coming in. We can do whatever.
But this
No,
is
I don't know.
this is a
It's a policy,
This
right?
is a policy for all the meetings and rooms,
I think Jennifer should have the right to make an exception.
Right.
Like board meetings.
So, food and beverage, so in that, she can make an exception and make, but maybe it should be in there.
Yeah.
So she doesn't get,
You know that they at least have to.
how about the library director has, full authority on exceptions or something like that?
Right. There we go. And then will that have to be an item on your reservation form? Are you serving?
We have a kitchen charge, so if they are using the kitchen, like when I say using the kitchen, I mean extensively.
Right.
I don't mean making coffee.
Right,
or
okay, okay.
Having a table with cookies on it.
Okay, right.
So that we do have on our form, but we don't have anything about,
Are you serving alcohol?
A policy that says no.
right. So what would the wording be?
The library director reserves, decision-making, authority. For the library events, or for, what would be, library foundation events. Because that's the only time you really do it, right?
Yeah, we wouldn't do it for the library.
Yeah, so for the library.
Well, unless you do, you like their,
We wouldn't do it for the library.
Yeah, so for the library.
well, unless you do, you like their coffee now, well,
Why don't
You
just
could say for foundation fundraising events or something.
Yeah, why don't you just say like outside groups are prohibited from consuming alcohol? Because they're outside groups.
Right.
That's different than an event planned by the library. It's the outside groups who use the meeting rooms are prohibited from consuming alcohol.
Should I say to serving and consuming
Yeah.
alcohol?
So outside groups, that gives you, you're not an outside group, so that gives you,
Considered an outside group, I know that.
They are, and that's where the library director reserves
Right. Okay. What's going on next door?
So the library director reserves decision-making authority,
for the use of all meeting spaces or rooms.
meetings,
Spaces or rooms.
meetings,
Spaces or rooms. Because it could be a space outdoors, you know.
spaces
that's
or
true,
meeting
yeah.
rooms. Okay. Okay,
All right, any other questions about the meeting?
okay.
All right, any other questions about the meeting room policy?
Did you clarify that that's just for foundations though? Because if you say outside authority period, then they may be putting pressure on you to give them the authority. Well, Jennifer, it says you have the right to allow us to have alcohol here. But if you foundation events, the pressure is off of you to.
Outside groups with the exception of the Franklin Public Library Foundation?
Or you have the authority to waive that for the foundation.
Or do we want to leave it open in case something comes up and then we don't have to change the policy?
She's really not had any pressure.
Right.
If it gets to the point where people start pressuring her because now they're bringing it up and they're assuming that maybe they can do this, then.
Then we can revisit it.
I would think it's the exception, not the rule. This is not a place to consume alcohol.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go there. I mean, it could be trouble. Because then I'd probably have to apply the, if rooms are not left in usable condition. Okay, so do we want to leave it at outside groups are prohibited to serve and consume? Groups are prohibited to serve and consume.
Why don't you read everything that you
Yes.
have it so far?
Okay, I have, under food and service and consumption, I have a bullet point, outside groups are prohibited from serving and consuming alcohol. The library director reserves decision-making authority for the use of all spaces or meeting rooms.
And I think you should clarify foundation. That's just, but then you're saying you kind of like
There would be, but, oh, well, did that paint, or was that the foundation? That wasn't
All
an
of-
adult program? It
All
was
of
a foundation, all the
those
alcohol.
fundraisers with alcohol have all been foundation fundraisers.
Okay, I couldn't remember if that one was a fundraiser or if it was
so,
just
and then,
see if anybody started, yeah.
right, if you start having some pressure where, you know, you're gonna lose out on a lot of money if you say no, and then we can revisit it, but right now,
You could say, all outside groups with the exception of the foundation are prohibited from.
Okay. Do you want me to go over the changes from the beginning?
Yeah, let's just get a refresher on that quickly before we move.
Yeah.
Okay. All government meetings and events must be free and open to the public. Governmental units do have the ability to enter into closed session per Wisconsin statute, and I will reference the statute. I will strike, this does not apply to use of the rooms by governmental units. Use of the rooms by governmental units. Under hours of operation, we will say the FPL meeting rooms may only be used during normal Franklin Public Library operating hours, with meetings scheduled to begin no less than 15 minutes after the library opening. And at the end, we will add a sentence, failure to do this will result in a loss of meeting room privileges. On page 12, we will make the change under nonprofit 501c3 located in Franklin. Under nonprofit 501c3 located in Franklin. Second bullet point will change to $30 per room section for 4 or more hours in a day. On page 14, the last bullet point under food service and consumption. The last bullet point under food service and consumption will be outside groups, with the exception of the Franklin Public Library Foundation, are prohibited from serving and consuming alcohol. The library director reserves decision-making authority for the use of all spaces or meeting rooms. And then under damages, the first bullet, the only bullet point, if rooms are not left in usable condition, or if there is damage beyond normal wear and tear, charges may be assessed and/or privileges may be revoked.
sounds good.
I gotta ask for clarification. As you're reading this and you went to where it says federal rooms, and you said the second bullet point, and I looked at the second bullet point as $50 per room section for 4 or more hours in a day, and then you changed it to 30, and that didn't make sense to me.
Well, I'm sorry, it was the bullet point,
Profit.
You
yeah.
see it, the third.
Third bullet point, nonprofit 501c3, and that would be the second bullet point under that.
So that 50 is changed to 30?
None of the numbers changed.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
okay,
under.
thank you.
Under, yeah.
I'm good then.
It's just a,
Oh,
yeah.
So
okay,
under.
thank you.
Under, yeah.
I'm good then.
It's just it's just cleaning up the language to match the one above it, which it should have done, should have been in the beginning.
Okay, anything else on that one? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Anything else on that one? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Alan and Kristen. All in favor of accepting the meeting room policy with the recommended changes, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, motion. That's on pages 15 to 18. Jennifer, were there, my printer didn't print in color. Were there any changes made to this one? Okay.
No, this is a pretty new policy.
Is it assumed that, well, and I guess I should have asked this for this one, but is it assumed?
I move we accept this policy as stated.
Second.
Okay, that was Alan and Ravian.
Judy.
Oh, I'm sorry, Judy.
Sorry, the mask.
Yeah, and the voice over there. Opposed or questions? Okay. Opposed. All right. Moving on then. Agenda item 7, update on council actions. Kristen?
I don't have anything.
Okay. And agenda item 8, update on the Franklin Public Schools. Judy?
Just getting ready to open school. No other update.
Okay. And then agenda item 9, my report, there's nothing really to report. My report, there's nothing really to report on my end either. And then agenda item 10, Jennifer, your report.
My activities have included National Night Out. August 2nd, which was pretty well attended, but definitely less people than previous years. The library did not have a table this year, but next year we will. Having Laura out kind of made that a little trickier. But I was there. LDAT meeting on the 5th of August, and the trunk or treat planning meeting with the health department on the 6th.
What's LDAC?
Library Director Advisory Committee, so that's a meeting of the library. I'm working on the presentation to the Common Council, tentatively titled State of the Franklin Public Library 2021, unless somebody can come up with a fancier name.
Sounds very official.
Yeah.
Don't sit up and take
Well, it's like,
notes.
because we have State of the State, we have State of the City, State of the
Stay in the
Library.
library. And then obviously the
What
strategic
we've
plan.
done, yeah.
Yes,
And informing the council, which was part of the
right, right.
objective, yeah. We have 3 new library shelvers who just started. Tomorrow will be the first day, so we'll be back up to 5 shelvers. They're a little behind, but it's getting better. Building and Grounds, I'm trying to schedule a walkthrough by the Building and Grounds Committee. I will probably be sending out another doodle poll.
Maybe you should do it right after a library board meeting. Because we can just go from here outside.
I mean, I
that
can
to
make
your-
that an option. I will
your
add
poll.
that to one of the poll, I'll add that to the poll,
Or prior to it.
or prior to it.
There you go. Good idea.
Prior to it.
There you go. Good idea.
Bob Tesh gave me some updates since I wrote my report. He wants you to know that he has ordered ceiling tiles. So, because now that the roof repaired, the roof leaks are done, he feels confident that if he replaces the tiles, he won't have to do it again. So he'll be replacing those. Lori Glass will be coming this week to fine tune the front door latch that's kind of been acting up. It's basically kind of scraping on the threshold. And sometimes it catches, so it kind of seems like the door is locked.
So we went from one problem to
And I asked him to get a second quote for the water heater replacement, so he's getting one from Bowman and Vic Plumbing. He said if the 2 quotes are wildly different, he'll get a 3rd quote, but, you know.
Is this a tank water heater?
They're up, there's 2 of them, they're up.
But are they a tank or tankless?
No, they're tank.
Okay.
I'm water, you wouldn't have to continue to use. I just put one in my house in Michigan, and it's fabulous.
I brought that up last meeting, about using,
tankless.
have that at the point of use type of thing. Put them right by the sinks or the dishwasher.
Water that's used between the bathroom.
Well, then it gets hot right away, so there's no water waste either.
Right, and you don't have, up there, how is it not, having freezing problems. If some pilot goes out or whatever, you gotta worry about that, and then your tank is ruined and.
I can ask him about that.
How big are this building to have?
What do you have? You have 2 bathrooms and a kitchen?
Two
Probably
bathroom,
the
two,
staff, maybe.
yeah, staff
Kitchen.
kitchen, this kitchen, public restroom over on this side, staff restrooms on the other side, children's restrooms on this side.
Well, I think it cost me $100 washer and dryer, the washing machine.
We don't really have a need for hot
And
water.
dishwasher, so.
This isn't a home, so you don't have the same need for hot water here. It's all
Right,
cold
nobody's
water.
taking showers.
Right.
I can ask
Why
Bob.
don't you check into that? Yeah.
Because I think
Especially
that
when it comes in.
And
cost
the numbers for those water heaters, based on the last building and grounds report, were huge. Lots of money. So whether it's
Right.
the city's money or our money, it's just not good stewardship.
So,
Yeah, let's do it. Let's make sense.
Yeah, and it might be a little more upfront because it'll be a little more.
Well, there'll be some labor involved.
Right.
Yeah.
But the savings in gas that it would
Right.
get from the heat.
And those things have a long useful life as well.
they are electric, but,
Oh, so they
Oh,
don't,
they are electric, but,
so they
oh,
don't have
look
to
at
be
all the
vented.
money we're saving on LED lights, right? It'll be
Right.
a long time. And like you say, for the number of times that somebody goes in there to wash their hands, they're using hardly any electricity. You probably use more electricity with having
I know.
lights in there than. you
A
do
lot
Oh,
of,
yeah.
water
a lot of places,
heaters. You probably use more electricity with having
I know.
lights in there than. you do
a lot
Oh,
of,
yeah.
water
a lot of places you go in, they completely turn off the hot water. All you get is
Yeah.
cold water to wash your
Right.
hands.
I'll ask Bob about tankless.
That's
It's
a
just
good
really
idea.
bad in the winter when you go in to warm your hands up and all you get is ice cream.
Cold water.
Winter when you go in to warm your hands up and all you get is ice cream.
Cold water.
Speaking of LED lights, are these LED lights in here?
No.
All of the one, yes,
These?
yeah. These are all LED. You can kind of tell the old ones because they're yellower.
Yep,
Those are the emergency ones. Those are the ones that we still need to have replaced.
yep.
Those are the emergency ones. Those are the ones that we still need to have replaced by the DPW
Mm-hmm.
because there's different,
Yeah, that's what you
Right.
mentioned.
oh, did I mention it here?
I thought you
Okay.
said, yeah.
That one time.
Our AV system upgrade. Oh yeah, I did mention.
Anything else that Bob wanted us to know?
No, that was
Okay.
it. Phaedro AV system upgrade is all of our, well, most of our equipment's on back order, so don't know. Hopefully this year. One thing about the budget, an email back and forth with Peggy, and the city wants us to use fund balance for our capital requests, to use down our fund balance.
Yeah, we knew that.
Well, there was a little bit of there was a little communication. I thought there was a pot of money for the IRS repairs.
Okay.
They want us to use our fund balance to fund those repairs, to bring our fund balance down.
I thought that was the whole point, though, that the city was gonna cover those, some of that cost. They're saying they're not.
Now they're saying we need to add it to our capital
Oh,
in order to bring the fund balance down, because it didn't make sense to borrow money when we have money in fund balance.
Do we have a fund balance policy that says how much percent it's supposed to be?
I think it was passed by the common council back in,
Okay, so you follow the same one that the council does, and it's like 25% or whatever, 30, I don't know.
Right, that's
It's
the
kind
number I
of-
heard.
Okay, so are we way above 25%?
we're at, yeah, because we have, right now, we have 550,000 in it.
Separate from that account where you're required to keep like 100,000.
Right.
Okay.
So,
okay.
once it gets down, for example, when we have the parking lot redone, that's 400,000. Well, he said at that point, the city would have to cover it because we would not be able to cover that out of our,
Shifting some of that to some of your expenses, because you have the ability to use that fund balance for other expenses, right?
Well, I mean, the fund balance is used when we have lots of maintenance issues and we go
Right.
35,000 over our budget.
Well, maybe,
35,000 over our budget.
well, maybe you might want to check and see what this change in the water heater might, maybe you'll have, we want to do this to save money and we need our fund balance for that. Can we still?
That's true.
Depending on how much it costs, because the water heaters are like depending on how much it costs, because the water heaters are like 8,000.
That
So,
just
for
seems-
two, because there's two and they're up on pedestal, they're
Yeah,
up.
the point of use things, we're talking hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And not that many of them,
yeah. One in each bathroom.
not that many of them.
Yeah. One in each bathroom and one in the kitchen, that's all you need, right?
But then they would say that would come out of our operational
Why,
budget.
wouldn't it be a maintenance upgrade?
What would those come out of? What would those come out of?
Our operation.
Your operation?
And, I think you have to research it because something you put in your home is different than what you put in a big building like this where the use is much higher. You can't necessarily use the same equipment. It might have to be a higher grade of something because of the amount of use.
Yeah, you're talking commercial grade versus
Right.
residential grade, but still.
There's some research that would have to go into
Right.
that. And then
Well,
would
I-
have to come back to the board, I think, for just.
I would just make sure Bob knows to have them maybe give two separate quotes for repairing, or replacing the ones we have with like ones and then retrofitting.
We already have that one, so we would
Right,
just have to
from
get
both, okay.
we will be getting it from both. And I'll
Okay.
ask them to add those and be done.
That's true, and there may be. It might involve plumbing and electric and,
I don't know how much retrofitting you have
So
to
I'm
do.
looking at commercial grade under the St. Granger Industrials. It's $252.
Does it have to be under every sink in the bathroom?
$52.
Does it have to be under every sink in the bathroom?
No, it's just one
For the
unit in the bathroom.
but
So
we don't know
basically, bathrooms,
electrical,
high bathrooms,
requirements for those. So,
high bathrooms.
requirements for those.
But like Judy
it's worth
says,
it.
come up with the numbers.
Right, yeah.
Come up with the numbers and then you can do a comparison and say this makes sense for these reasons.
But as Jennifer said, will it come out of operational or can we,
Like some of these A.O. Smith or whatever Granger.
yeah,
But they're also called tankless.
yeah, the tank.
That's fine, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, moving on. Explore passes are doing well. We're hoping to add Milwaukee Public Museum by the end of the year. We did some painting in there this past month. We got a display for our new library merchandise, because we're hoping to sell library merchandise to kind of offset our Explore Pass costs. Our summer reading, get better next year.
Do the children's librarians, has there been a discussion about going back to paper pencil? Come in and get stamped for the children's reading program? It's something concrete for the, it's an app.
It's
You
one of
log
those.
your, but to a kid, they love bringing their papers in and stamping or getting, So have they talked about going back to that? Or is that not even
It wasn't on the discussion this year,
right?
because when we were planning summer reading, in
Mhm.
March and April, it was still
Yeah, just
tentative. But, I can talk to him about next year.
since the numbers are showing, and I know that we've had two unusual years, but, this year should have been unusual years, but, this year should have, I thought it was gonna be better than the 383.
Yeah.
you know, compared to 1,200 2 years ago. I just thought maybe
Three,
that
yeah.
would be something if they wanted to.
I can talk to them about it. I can talk to them about it. I passed out, I think I gave everybody the fall, winter 2021 booklet.
Shouldn't this be a coyote?
A what?
A
A
coyote?
coyote?
Coyote. I guess to make the Franklin Coyote crowd happy. Signed it this time, the children's librarians turned it over to Janice to work her magic.
Yeah.
So this is the template, so, you know, from now on, we'll be able to use the same.
And this does not include the teams.
This does not include
Yeah.
teens.
When will that,
Well,
I'm just curious.
I'm not gonna do.
Gotcha. Okay.
She is doing pop-up, what she's doing is pop-up programming.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there's
So you
no-
don't, it's not
Not
conducive
in
to
a
a
book.
guide. Okay.
But she is still doing programming.
Mm-hmm.
Where Nicholas as a system is looking at some ways to use some of the extra funds from the state. So one product we're reviewing is called Udemy. So it has video content and more flexible do it on your own time schedule as opposed to Gale courses which you sign up, will do it on your own time schedule as opposed to Gale courses which you sign up for the course and it starts in April. And I guess a lot of
Oh, so you don't get a chance to decide when you start a Gale course? Oh, yeah, you want to do it on your own schedule.
So this would be kind of a complement to.
Right.
So this would be kind of a complement to
Right.
Gale courses.
Right.
And COVID-19, still out there. We changed our signs to say that all people entering the library are strongly encouraged to wear masks.
Mm-hmm.
People entering the library are strongly encouraged to wear masks.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. Janice is working on a September newsletter, and I'll send a link to it. And we have the Packers Trivia fundraiser October 9th at 7 p.m. That is pretty much it. And the numbers, like last month I said, you know, they're improving. Not 100% back to where we were, but we have seen, in the last week or so, we have seen an uptick in our curbside.
Oh, sure.
So I think some people, we'll see where that goes. Any questions?
What do you see the, oh,
I was just gonna ask, when is Packer Trivia Fund?
October 9th at 7 p.m.
Thank you.
Yep.
and that's really the Franklin Public Library Foundation then, is the next?
We have a meeting on September 13th.
Okay.
Um,
And then they're doing the trivia.
And they're doing the trivia. We were talking about a cookie sale again, but I'm not 100% sure that will be back on. And
Right.
sale again, but I'm not 100% sure that will be back on. And
Right. Yeah.
How many people on the foundation?
six members. So one library board representative and 5. One library board representative and 5 members.
So when you say they're doing this fundraiser, that's that foundation doing that?
Mhm.
Okay.
What numbers on your adequate, well, I haven't added the fastest from last year.
Probably gate count.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Jennifer?
So what's the, the social media fundraiser, has that been out there yet?
The social media, we put it on Facebook and we're gonna boost it.
Okay. Is anybody sharing it to any of the other groups or? Okay.
We usually do.
Okay.
I think with this week, we're gonna start really
Because it's a little more than a month away.
6 weeks, it's about 6 weeks.
What historically has been attendance at, because they had a similar fundraiser a couple of years ago, a sports, didn't they have a sports fundraiser?
No, they had,
No, a Star Wars?
we had,
Was it Star Wars
so the first
or-
one we had was the Disney
Oh, okay.
trivia, and we followed that up with Harry Potter.
Oh, okay.
That was in the summertime, and we switched the night to like a Friday. That was not as well
Okay.
attended.
Okay,
But it was still, we had like 65.
okay,
And they followed that up with Star Wars,
Okay.
which was a little bit
So is that cute?
attended. They opened a whole room up. So,
and
you know,
how
it
was that
gets-
one attended?
the Star Wars?
Yeah.
Not well at all. I mean,
Oh.
like 40 something. which
Okay,
were
and then they did the
disappointed.
painting thing, which was not a trivia night.
The painting was not trivia.
But was that an
one
annual fundraiser also?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Was that an annual fundraiser also?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
So that one was about 50 people.
Okay,
Tons of fun. It was a lot of fun.
yeah, yeah. Okay,
So the fundraisers bring in, they're pretty happy if they,
okay.
so the fundraisers bring in, they're pretty happy if they bring in like 1,500 to 2,000.
Okay.
So you get the funding regardless if the people come or not, you buy the tickets, and if they don't show up, there's not a return policy. In case something
Right.
happens, you might
I think they would have, I don't know, this, I mean, like, what if people are buying tickets now and then it has to be canceled because of COVID? Would they refund this year because of that? That's your question?
The only problem is online, with the online ticket sales, we had the actual cost of the ticket. We cannot refund the processing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking if you put on there, due to unscheduled events, your ticket price, it could be considered
A donation.
You know, and maybe people wouldn't know, and maybe people wouldn't ask for the money back or something.
Or if it was canceled, ask if they wanted to.
Would you like to make this a donation to the
Right.
Franklin Public Library?
Because it's gonna cost us processing fees, and you're not gonna get it all back, would you consider just making the donation to our great library?
That's
Would you consider just making the donation to our great library?
what everybody did last.
Oh,
My summer, well, my girls' summer camp. Do you want to just donate the $500 instead of us refunding it to you? I said no, not that much. I said no, not that much. But yeah, everybody tried to then get you to donate it instead of, so yeah, that would be another. But you're right, if you publicize it now heavily and people buy now and then it, publicize it now heavily and people buy now and then it, and maybe if you,
Well, when we publicize it, we have been putting on all of our flyers, this program may be canceled due
I
to
saw
health
that,
and
yeah.
safety. So we'll just add a little line,
sure.
maybe.
oh,
Maybe.
oh.
We'll word it, we'll
Yeah.
word it.
Think about it. All right.
You can even ask people to consider making a donation if they're not gonna come.
That's, right. The
Richard,
foundation.
if we can get some pretty good
You are
donations.
unable
Nothing
to.
against write you a check, because I know that you're not making any money on these things. You know? You'll make more money if I just give you the money.
Right.
So, throw that out there. I mean, if you don't ask, you don't get, right?
That's
Some
right.
people might just like, if you're not into trivia, but you would
Still want to make a
still
donation?
make.
Yep, I will.
Not really, not anymore. With the,
Right.
with
Yeah,
the
high.
$12,000,
Well, but some people may not have a lot of things that they donate to, and so maybe,
it's,
everybody always says it's fully tax deductible.
Right.
please consult your individual tax
Tax attorney,
advisor.
right.
Yeah. That's what you cover
That
yourself.
kind of takes the air out of the balloon, doesn't it?
Right.
That's when I did my nonprofit management certificate, of
Right,
course,
right,
that's
yeah.
what they told you to put on all your stuff,
Everything,
because
yeah.
you don't want to be accused. You said it.
And then you smile and you say, "Oh, sorry."
We're a nonprofit. We
We're
can't
hardly
afford.
in that world anymore. Well, then just, I'm sorry then.
All right, we're almost there.
We are. We are. Next meeting, September 27th. Anybody have anything on their schedules that they? I'm getting into, I know you're getting into budget times, but. All right.
But it's still a Monday, right? So
It is still a Monday.
stays away from.
Looks good.
Annie's not here.
Move to adjourn.
Sounds good.
Alan moved to adjourn.
I'll second.
Mike seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.